For the past few months, there's been quite a bit of a buzz around town, especially when there's a police car that doesn't belong to St. Mary's here, and but it's because there's been a film being done here called The Sanctuary, and we're privileged to have one of the co-producers and writer, Robin Crozier, on the show. Robin. By the seat of our pants productions. There we go. You have a microphone. Yeah, is it on? I assume it is. I will turn it on.
I can hear it.
Yeah, we can hear it. So good. Okay. Hello, everybody. First, what brought you to St. Mary's?
Oh, my husband and I, Alan, who was the director of the movie. Closer? Okay.
Yeah.
He and I always wanted to come here to retire. And then we decided we'd move early. We really hadn't retired because we still wanted to make films. But we loved it so much, we've already brought 2 more crew members here to St. Mary's too. So it's been good, and everything's just been wonderful.
And who are those crew members?
Oh, Greg Hunter, who's our drone pilot, and David O'Keefe, who's director of cinematography.
Right.
Yeah.
And you came here to retire.
Yeah, but we don't really think about that. We're kind of what we wanted to do basically was we have a fun project. And we have a lot of friends in the film business, and so we basically we were getting the band back together, sort of, and yeah. So as it happened, for instance, our editor Andrew Brown, we couldn't find him for a while. Some people even told us he was dead. And then it turned out, because we had all worked together in Toronto for years ago, and we'd lost touch with a few people. But it turned out he was in Stratford, just down the road. So he's editing the film. And yeah, there have been all kinds of people that have been just working in the wings that, yeah, it's been nice, really nice. And Hayward Parrott, for instance, who's the music producer. We worked with him for years in Toronto as well.
Now you say you worked for years. You've got all of you have a quite extensive background.
Yeah, most of those of us that are a little older. There's a long history of film and television and all kinds of stuff, commercials, you name it, music videos.
Can you give us some of the highlights of some of the things you've done?
I'm trying to think of what music videos people would know. I know, well, David and Alan worked on if you know Murray McLaughlin, and they worked on they had a television special called Floating Over Canada. Murray flew his plane, and they stopped at all kinds of places. I wish David was here. He could give you more details on that kind of stuff. Then a lot of, music videos for Honeymoon Suite and, all kinds of people.
And you're not talking just nationally, you're talking internationally sometimes, right?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, well, yeah, I know David worked on, I wasn't there, but he worked on a video for Alana Miles that was shot in Ireland. So there's been a lot of hopping around, and
you've also hired a lot locally.
Yes, that was the really fun part, because a lot of us, we're not spring chickens exactly. So, but there's a lot of knowledge there. So it was really nice to have all these young people brought in, and even we've got Fern here working the camera. She decided she would like to learn how to produce, so she became our assistant producer.
Yeah.
And in fact, she's so good at multitasking. I actually dubbed her the Fernado. which
I think we have a new name.
Yeah, and then her son Mason came home. He's been working in film, so he worked on our project along with another young man, Campbell Levitt, who. These guys were just excellent, but they're learning as they go along, and of course Maggie, who's around here somewhere, she's working with us now as well.
And you managed to even get Joseph on.
Joseph.
Our sound guy.
Oh,
there he
yes. Joseph was in the fire scene, right? Yeah. I didn't recognize you. Okay. Yeah. We had a lot of great young people helping
Could
us
somebody
out.
just hold up the poster so that we can see the poster of the film?
I'm the star of the film.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Do you
And then-
recognize me?
maybe Furnace, you need to get closer for you to see it.
We managed to get Yaz
And
Laporia.
you'll see
Sorry.
Fern's name on that poster.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah.
So, wonderful.
We managed to get Yaz Laporia to come out of retirement.
Mm-hmm.
He took a little nagging on Alan's part, but that was great. And then he was our production manager. And,
So making a film isn't cheap.
no.
So how did you get
One
the money?
would only wish. Well, it was a low budget, very low budget, but it was all private investors.
Yeah.
Yes, for this
And
one.
where's it going to be shown?
That will depend on the distributors. Right now, it's still in post-production. They've almost finished editing it, but then it has to go to our composer, Flora Chang, who's in Los Angeles. So the music track has to be laid, and then it also goes to a colorist who tweaks all the grays and the reds and all that. And after that, it goes to our music producer in Toronto. Only then can it go to the Toronto, not the Toronto, sorry, but the film circuit route. We've missed TIFF this year, but so it'll depend on the distributor. Whoever picks it up, then that company will decide when and where it'll be.
So I'm pretty excited about this because I understand it's scary.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about the film itself?
Well, it's there's a murderer on the loose, and he ends up taking shelter with a couple of little old people who live in the country, but things aren't always as they appear to be. And that's all I'm telling you.
So I heard something that it may be on Netflix. Is that true or untrue?
Well, that could be, but it's not. None of those deals
Are finalized yet?
No,
Okay.
nothing like that.
Okay, good. And when do you hope to have the film finally released? I know they're editing it right now as
Well,
we speak.
we think it will be finished in November.
November.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have another project after that.
We do. We have, there's always another one down the road, but that's more of a thriller. Yeah. This one was more of a quirky drama.
And you chose St. Mary's, obviously because you live here.
Yeah, but then as it happened, people were so helpful here. It was unbelievable. We were trying to, of course, being low budget, we didn't have a big sound studio or anything like that to work in. So we had to find locations that would suit. And we were looking for ages for an old farmhouse, but it had to be something that looked like it was set back 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we couldn't have, everything we looked at had either been renovated up the hill to the hill, or people were living in it, and you'd have to, get them to move out for a month. So we were really lucky. We found a place. It was owned by the Fusenick family on Welburn, and they were just wonderful. They let us use the home and their barns, and as it turned out, I needed chickens. I don't know why I wrote chickens into the plot, but who knows? I don't know why I do those things, but they had chickens too. It just so happened. So that was perfect, and then, and of course, you have a wonderful mayor. I don't need to tell you that. So he's been very, very helpful through all of this. Also, we needed a spot to house what was supposed to be the sheriff's office for that car people were talking about and worrying about, I gather. What is that? And so Fern introduced us to Frank Ball, who had space in his building. Yay, Frank Ball. And his wife, Mary Jane. And they allowed us to set that up as the sheriff's office. So it was really, really great. Yeah, we even built a little, we built bars in the car and all that sort of stuff. And it was great.
Well, if you ever want to shoot a low-budget film and make it a comedy, you could do one called The Front Porch Show.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It would be very low budget. Anyways, we look forward to the film coming out and the future things and what you're doing for St. Mary's. You're doing a terrific thing. This is becoming like Hollywood North, isn't it? With all the things going on with Murdoch and then you coming here and other things and it's just great. So
Well, it's been a lot of fun.
So
It's been
we
really fun.
really appreciate what you've added to the town. Thank you for coming on the show, Robin.
Thank you.